Welcome back to the Families of Florence Python project. In this video, I will focus on planning. You need to plan before you start getting into coding. Otherwise, it becomes a major mess and it takes much more energy to sort it out later. We have to think about winning the game. So what does it mean to win? What does it mean to lose? And then, of course, the big question to ask is, where should you start? What do you want to build first? Do we focus on our graphical user interface, or do we focus on the back end? So we could just, run the back end in our terminal, and later, once we are happy with the back end development, we could start developing our GUI. In most cases, when I work on my data science projects, my focus is very much on the back end, and later, most likely someone else will do the front end development. In the case of game development, what I usually do is I start with actually both at the same time, because these two really interact quite a lot. Depending on how you design your graphic user interface, for instance, you can restrict inputs. So you can force the player to input, for instance, integers. So this means in your backend, you don't have to check user input. So what I suggest in this particular case, because we don't really work with any game engine, I suggest to start with a simple GUI in Tkinter, start the basic layout, the basic structure, and just have some dummy functions first. And then we add proper functions into it and think more carefully about the objects we need. The main point you should do early on is separation. So ideally, you focus on building smaller things and not do one big script that handles everything. Let's have a look at the game and think about our strategy. I will use Sublime Text for all my coding work. It's available for free. This is not, technically speaking, an integrated development environment. Of course, you can select anything else you prefer, like PyCharm or Spider or VS Code, whatever you prefer. It's entirely up to you. So first I will add the project. So I go to add folder to project, and here is the initial game. So now you see all the different scripts, and you can already notice that we have different classes most likely. So what I tend to do is each and every class gets a separate script, and later just import them into the main one. In my case, usually I structure this that the main one is running everything, and then I have separate scripts for various elements. Yeah, like for the GUI, this is the biggest one, and then we have various other actors like player, families, and so on. So let me just run this. So I need not to run the main.py. I do this in the command line. So here we are. So I just opened up my initial game folder, and I just type in cmd. This opens the terminal, and I just now type in python main.py, which will start the game. So here we are. It's not looking massively appealing, maybe. But that's basically what we will build. Of course, I can't guarantee that in the end it will look exactly like that, because now what I do is I reverse engineer. I did this during lockdown when I was, bored in the evening and nights, and did a little bit of recreational coding. And now what I will do is I will try to build it step by step. We might not actually end up in the same position. We might add some more features. So basically the player interacts in this graphic user interface, which we code all in Python. So up here we have different menus. We have a file menu. So this is basically to start a new game, to save and to load and to exit. So exit should just kill this, and we should just go out. And then you can invest, you can buy different things, you see that, we can sell different things. And then we can go to the bank, we can take loans, we can deposit money. And then there are some further features like, you know, joining a medieval guild or whatever, which is required if you want to start a business. And then you see various displays. So all of these displays will be filled later. So I will simulate some prices, we simulate markets. And then of course you see also your family members and you see the history of your family. So that's basically the idea. The main objective of this game, I thought, is simply survival. You have to survive as a family. So hopefully you produce enough offspring and they don't just die. Of course, in this particular period, death is almost a common feature. You will see that in a minute. In terms of how the game progresses, this is round based. So here we have some control where I just click on this and I go into the next round. Yeah, so this will move into the next round, which is the next year. So you have to think about this. Again, of course, you could do it differently. There's no particular reason why we have this structure. I personally quite like old-fashioned round-based strategy games. I was a big fan of Civilization, Sid Meier's Original Civilization 1. I spent a good amount of my childhood playing that game. So first things we do is we now start the game. So I go to new, and here you see a new pop-up window and we can select our name. Let's put in our name. And I press next and I move into this next period. And then of course certain things happen. So here, look at that. I already received a marriage proposal. So do you want to marry? And then you get a name here. And we have to think also how we generate these names. They're actually randomly generated. Then there's an age. I'm only 17. I don't look like it, I know. At the moment my title is Mr. I don't have any other nice title. It comes late in the game. So let me just marry in this case, and I get some financial support. You know, that is always nice, getting some money. And now I can start investing. Here you see weather conditions. They will also determine certain prices. We have a price of land, we have a price of grain, we have interest rates which are also simulated, and then we have a cash position initially. And my total wealth in this particular case, and now I can start investing. So first you start buying some farms. So here you can enter how many farms do you want to buy. Let me just try to buy 2, and I bought now 2 farms and I move on. And now as you can see, I have a cash position which is now reduced. I have some profit coming from farming. I have 2 farms, my wealth goes up. And then of course prices change. Now the price of grain is more or less decent, but weather conditions are still quite bad. And now you see in my family, I have now 2 family members. I have a spouse added, and later hopefully some children as well. So now a son is born. Here we go, that's exciting. And I could now go to the bank and take a bank loan. So here you see some other features in this graphical user interface. I can use the sliders here, horizontal ones, and I can just take some loans. Let's just go all in and I take the loan. So you took a bank loan, nice. Again, a message is popping up. And now I can invest a little bit more. So I add another 3 farms. Here we go, and I go to the next period. So now I have again my cash position here, have more and more debt, interest payments now pop up. We have profits from farming, which is great. My total wealth is really jumping up, and now my child is added to the children, which is nice. Interest rates are also moving down a little bit, which is good. Price of grain is pretty strong. Again, weather conditions are quite bad. And now once you have 5 farms, you can use that to buy a mill. So you actually then start processing. And once you have a mill, you can then go into bakeries or breweries in this case. But to do this, you need to be a member of a guild. So if I now want to buy, for instance, a bakery, it will complain. Yeah, so you have to join a guild first. Let's do that. It costs a bit of money. We join them. and hopefully we have enough money to buy our bakery. Not enough cash, so we need to wait. And now there are elections happening. That's another feature here. So there are elections to the city council. And this is in the year 805. At the moment, most likely we get nothing because we are too insignificant. Yeah, so all the different families here have a stake in the city council. I didn't work very much on the political side of things. Of course, you can imagine doing much more about this. We can maybe play around a little bit. Again, I'm more than happy to take your suggestions and ideas and develop something different from this current setting. And of course, as always, you know, feel free to do whatever you like. Do any game you like. Do maybe something a bit more useful. That would be also good. Right, so here we go. We now are in a decent position. We should be able to buy the bakery. Yes, we do. And now we continue. So now having 3 children and getting, of course, older, 45. Now that's my current age. That looks a bit more like it. And you see now I'm slowly gaining momentum. So I'm getting a few votes and not quite leading yet. So now, of course, the inevitable happened and I pass away. I die at the age of 68. Well, what can you do? Pretty good age for that particular period. Well, nowadays it's a bit a rubbish age to die because it's just before you get your state pension. So now my dear son Alfredo, the oldest, inherits the title and land, so gets everything. And then this new guy taking over, Alfredo Kling, is already 50 because I lived quite a long life. Gets a marriage proposal. I can now reject that, and he might also get a few more. I reject that. So now you see some other proposals popping up from someone who has a title. And these titles are real titles, which I just took, and over time you can progress into the higher ranks of society. So in this particular case, it's a baronet. So if you say yes to that, you now move to the next rank. Oh, and Alfredo just died at the age of 52. Yeah, so it was good that I married just on time. Otherwise, game over. Here you go. So here we are. So Baronet Antonella Kling is only 21 years old. She took over, and now you see this other person, Alfredo, is added to this family tree. You see the period this person lived, and didn't really manage much in terms of leading the family, but at least got a nice title. So now the Baronet Antonella, sorry, gets now also marriage proposal. Let's see whether we can move higher up the ranks. So we say no to another baronet because we already are a baronet. So now we move up to a baron. And so this is how the game continues. It's fun. Oh, she died very young. Yeah, so that's unlucky. And yeah, it wasn't in charge for too long. So you had this initial reign of the good old Gerhard Kling, followed by a short one by Alfredo, and then his spouse. And let's see whether they can go to a higher title. Yeah, Viscount. Viscount would be nice. Let's take that. So that's basically the game. You see, it's playable. Is it fun? Well, for someone my age, it certainly is. I find it terrific. And the good thing is, because it's your own game, you can do whatever you want. You can make it more complex, more realistic. You can do the simulation in a much more sophisticated manner. At the moment, for instance, the price for land and grain is quite simple how this is modeled. And of course, we can do a proper market simulation. Nobody is stopping us. We can always make this a lot more sophisticated. Now, of course, this graphic user interface is fine for these types of displays. So once you go into graphics and so on, honestly, you are far better off working with a game engine. And we might actually, after building this and after you learn about GUIs and all the different functions you can use, we might actually do this. You might translate the game into another game engine like Godot. That would be the obvious option, and then of course you can make things a lot more fun. Pygame is an alternative, of course. Personally, not the biggest fan, but it's also fine. You know, you can add a few more elements that might make this a lot more polished. Good, so here we are. In the next session, we move into building the basic structure for our graphic user interface, and then of course we add more and more complexity to it. So I see you there.